Welcome back to our final video on parallel structure. To cover our last bases, we will be continuing looking at how to make the overall sentence parallel. Again, we talked about nouns and verbs and phrases being parallel, and in the last video, we talked about making sure that now that we've got all the pieces to the puzzle together, now we want to put the puzzle together and make the whole puzzle, the whole sentence parallel and readable. So, moving forward, I want to talk about parallelism in comparisons. If you'll reference video 1, way back early in video 1, I made mention that we would eventually be getting to this topic because our very first sentence with our nouns with nouns is a comparison. I enjoy basketball more than video games. Well, moving all the way back down here to parallelism and comparisons. The reason why we're just now getting to this is because what I want to let you know is that often, typically when we write comparisons, we use the words than or as. And you might see this set up in ways like more than, less than, as, blank as, and that could be as fast as slow as, whatever the case may be. We often use these comparisons in our sentences. Again, very first sentence, I enjoy basketball more than I enjoy playing video games. I enjoy basketball more than I enjoy video games. Well, as we compare what we want to do, we've spent all of our sentences seeing how the stem of the parallel sentence is at the beginning of the sentence, right? Now I want you to see that sometimes our stem might move from the beginning of the sentence, like it is right here, this being our stem, to the middle of the sentence. Sometimes our stem shifts here, and our stem is going to be that more than or as blank as. It's going to be one of these. For instance, taking the bus downtown is as fast as the drive there. This is not parallel structure. Taking the bus downtown is as fast as the drive there. Now, what we want to make sure is parallel is this portion, taking the bus, compared to the drive there. How we would make this parallel is by changing it to taking the bus downtown is as fast as driving there. Why? Because here we have our gerund, and here we have another gerund, or a verb, if you will. What we're doing here is we're matching up parallel structures so that the act of taking the bus downtown is as fast as the act of driving there. Another example might be to admit a mistake is better than denying it. Now, again, we understand what the speaker is saying here. We understand what the author is trying to get across. Owning up to your mistakes is better than pretending that your mistakes don't exist. However, here we have an infinitive. Remember, the infinitive was to plus your verb. And over here, we have our progressive verb, right? It's the actual doing of a thing and continually actively doing it. So we have a couple of options to fix this, and I'm sure at this point in this discussion you have already figured out what to do as soon as I wrote that sentence down, because you are on top of the ball. You got this. Go forth and take charge. You know that we have a couple of ways of fixing this. We could write either to admit a mistake is better than to deny it, or the other equally valid, admitting a mistake is better than denying it. Both of these are correct. Both of these are parallel, because here we have an infinitive, the progressive, the progressive. Absolutely. Both of these are perfectly valid. They are correct. They are good to go. And again, we have our better than. We have this than here as our comparison, as our stem, to make sure that what we're doing is correct and valid and good to go. Sometimes it's not a matter of updating a word or fixing a word. Sometimes you have to add in words or delete words to get your point across and to make sentences parallel. For instance, and this is a good one, a tour package is less expensive than arranging every travel detail yourself. Now take a second here, pause the video if you need to, and try to figure out what you might need to do in order to get this sentence to be parallel. So go ahead, pause the video, take a quick second, and then when we come back, we'll think through a way to make it parallel. Alright, now that we're back and you have spent some time working through it, this one is kind of difficult. But the easiest way, let's break down what this sentence is saying. Is less expensive than, well, this is our stem. We know this. We have the than there, we know it's a comparison. We're not going to worry about touching this. A tour package. Well, that's a subject, that's a phrase, that's a noun phrase, we're good, everything's fine. Arranging every travel detail yourself. Well, hold up. Here we have a verb. We have arranging every travel detail yourself. But it wouldn't make sense to write a tour package is less expensive than every travel detail yourself. Well, that makes absolutely no sense. But that would be the only kind of change that we could reasonably make in this back part of the sentence. So what do? Well, it's simple. We add something to the beginning of tour package. Say, buying a tour package is less expensive than arranging every travel detail yourself. Now, you might have used a different word than buying. You might have said arranging a tour package is less expensive than arranging every travel detail yourself. Organizing, purchasing, whatever the case is, the point is, as long as you get that progressive verb in there, buying, purchasing, if you want to copy arranging, that's fine, to make this match up with this, that is what makes this sentence parallel. Now, we have an extra adjective in here. We have every travel detail yourself, as opposed to just travel detail yourself. But the adjectives don't throw off parallel structure. Ideally, I like to match up my adjectives as well, at least in number, right? So, I personally might like to say buying a fancy tour package is less expensive than arranging every travel detail yourself, but that ultimately does not affect parallel structure, and we really only need to focus about our nouns, verbs, and our phrases. Therefore, this here now is perfectly valid, we're good to go, and it is ready to be listed as parallel. Of this video, I want to discuss how we can make sentences parallel using certain paired words. There are some words that just go together, like peanut butter and jelly, and peas and carrots, and whatever else it is that you like that goes together. These words are both and, either, or, neither, nor, not only, but also, and rather than. When we set up a sentence or a phrase or some other kind of group of words in a sentence, and we want to say both this and that, the this and the that need to be parallel. Either this or that need to be parallel. Neither this nor that, not only this but also that, rather than this be parallel, then that be parallel. For instance, rather than writing Bruce wants both freedom and to be wealthy, we need to write Bruce wants both freedom and wealth, turning both of these phrases into nouns, or Bruce wants both to be free and to be wealthy. Both of these are now phrases. To be free and to be wealthy are now phrases. Bruce wants both this and that. We need this in here to match up with this in here. Also, we want to write, or rather, another example is he can neither fail the course. Oh, I didn't mean to write fails. Oops. He can neither fail the course and quitting his job is also impossible. This is just a mess of parallel structure. And so what we're going to want to do instead is change it to he can neither fail the course nor can he quit his job. Both of these are a simple verb with a phrase, fail the course, nor quit his job. Do you see how the neither and the nor go together just as the both and the and? Now, this was our crash course lesson on parallel structure. And by all means, I know that it can be a tricky subject, and so if you have if you have a whole gamut of questions, if you have a million questions on how to make sense on any of this stuff, please feel free to email me. I would be more than happy to point you in the right direction for finding more resources and more practices, especially while we're all stuck at home in quarantine, on how to make your sentences parallel. Now, moving forward, after this video and all the others upload, you will have another daily check-in quiz that will count as your attendance grade. And so once you finish watching these, be sure to check Blackboard and take that quiz. It'll be like the first one, fairly simple, have a couple of attempts to finish it, and it won't be due until Friday, March 20th at 11:59 p.m. Also, you should have your compare and contrast essays back. Those should have been passed out before this spring break. Spend the weekend working on that journal, editing that journal, fixing that journal, and we will type those up instead of handwriting them, but type those papers up and turn them into me on Canvas. I'll have more written details explaining how to do that, how to go about that, but that will be due Tuesday night at 11:59. So long.